finally make some noise for these awesome lads. Eagle Eye Jones.
Hello everyone, I'm Kram and this is the Tune In. Welcome. This is Pedestrians Podcast, getting to know our pick of some of Australia's most exciting emerging acts heading into 2020. We're brought to you by our good friends at Jack Daniels. We're here at the Espy, the iconic live Australian music mecca on the shores of St Kilda. It's just so beautiful to be here at the Espy, and it's great to see live music here again after such a long time. And the tunes we just heard were from this awesome band from Sydney called Eagle Eye Jones. And today I've got them here, or two members, Dylan and Luke.
Hello.
Sorry, it's been a long day. Dylan and Luke from Eagle Eye Jones. Welcome, guys, to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. I just wanted to ask you, it's been really interesting, this project, doing it, because all of the acts I've interviewed have been so different. You guys again, and I was listening to some of your stuff. And the first track I checked out was Bad Omens, and I love that song. It's really great. So well done on that track. I just wanted to ask you about the recording of that song and the video, just the whole vibe about that track, like who wrote it, how you write your songs together, what's all that stuff in the clip, and tell me a little bit about Bad Omens.
Bad Omens was like the first song we wrote together, and the first we recorded. So like we had no idea what we were doing. We just went in blind and sort of just matched it together over a few weeks. And
so when you say you had no idea, do you guys just start jamming and then it becomes evident there's a vibe somewhere?
Well, the song was built around the lick, which is do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
And actually our drummer wrote that lick when we were playing a show up in Foster.
Oh,
drummer
wow.
writes all our best songs.
Oh, really?
It's the best
Sounds
shit.
good.
Get a drummer who plays guitar, man.
Look it up for the drummers. They're always the
good.
smartest.
Yeah.
So who's the singer in that song? Who sang
Toby.
that? Toby. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And is it always the same singer in all of your songs?
No, so Toby and I sort of like share the vocals and the sort of songwriting duties.
Yeah, right. Because there's a difference in the two vocal sounds.
Yeah.
At
We try to
first,
keep it streamlined.
It's weird because I've been saying to everyone, this kind of one of the concepts behind this project is just for me to get to know these new bands as well. So I'm like, wow, it's amazing how he can sing in those two different voices. So it seems obvious now there's two different singers. But,
Yeah.
So where did you record that song, and what's the recording process like for you guys? Like, do you all live together and have a recording studio? Do you go away to do it? How's it work?
Well, we recorded Bad Omens in a pretty DIY makeshift studio situated in Brookvale in Sydney, where we're from. The engineer and I guess producer was Gary Brown, and
my mate's granddad.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's been in the game for a long time. He's actually in the Hall of Fame for slide guitar and blues guitar.
No way, wow.
So he very much sort of resonated with that nostalgic sound that sort of comes through this track.
Yeah. Was it a fairly live sort of performance? Like, just interested in this particular sound? I know the obvious reference as well that Ocean Alley is another band that has a kind of sound like that. But are there more bands like you guys? Is that a space where this sort of, it doesn't sound like a Melbourne sound, doesn't sound like a Perth sound, it has a real Sydney sort of really
funnily
cool sound
enough,
about it?
Bad Omens we did to a click and sort of laid it, and I think we really struggled with that. Like,
wow, you don't notice that at all. That's really, wow.
That's good, I guess. But yeah, it was a great learning experience, and after that, we went on to like do some live recordings, and our latest EP was like recorded all live. And I just feel like,
Do you prefer that?
I think so, yeah. It was real tough the other way, and it felt like just sort of piecing this jigsaw together that never really.
It's weird because from my perspective, as someone who never, don't know much about your band and just came across that track, it doesn't sound in any way sort of difficultly put together.
Yeah. It's definitely not. It was never intended to be overproduced. I think for that track, it does have that bluesy sort of undertone or that bluesy feel, and we were actually all for trying to record it analog to tape, but Gary didn't have that setup running when we did the recording.
Not many people have the tape set up anymore.
He does have it running now, which is pretty sweet. It's an exciting prospect, but
it's good though that live. Like, you guys seem like the type of band that I could come over to your rehearsal space and listen to you play, or see you on stage in front of 10,000 people, and it'd be kind of the same. You know, there's a real organic nature to your sound that I really like. You know,
Cool, man.
do you feel that way? Is like, is it?
Yeah, that's exactly
part of
right.
the-
Yeah, for sure. Like after Bad Omens, we're like big believers in like reproducing the live show into people's ears.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole like philosophy behind our recordings. Like, yeah, maybe there's like a bit of extra like smooth production stuff going on, but like, yeah, definitely we want to just like play it how it is.
It's funny because some of the other acts I've been interviewing talking about production and how they shape tracks within the studio and getting all these sounds, and it's good and refreshing to meet a band who very much sound like they've grown up playing together or have been playing together for a long time. What's the story of your background? How did you come to be a band and play together in the first place?
Toby and I were just like heavily infatuated and blown away by blues, like the honesty of that music. I think that's where a lot of musicians start, really. And we met by chance and started playing heaps of guitar acoustically, started doing shows together, writing, and then sort of it all just like formed as naturally as like a band can be. We're all good mates, sort of Toby's New Deal. And
so we're all from the Northern Beaches. We all live within 5 minutes of each other or so.
Wow.
So
you all grew up there, and that's where you all come from? Yeah.
About 5 years ago, there was a bit of a scene where like we were all hanging out here and there locally with guitars, and we were sort of playing together, and then there was this like urban myth of this guitarist who was like pretty hot.
The legendary.
Had pretty hot fingers.
Who's
and,
that?
So bad.
And this is this guy
Is that
sitting next
you?
to me.
Oh, embarrassed.
Apparently.
Blushing.
So we were playing together, but we hadn't played cohesively together as a band. But and at this point we were a 4-piece. At our inception, we're now a 5-piece. But
So that is, the lineup is 2 guitars, bass, drums, and keys. Is there
That's
keys?
correct,
That's your
yeah.
5. Yep. Okay.
so we all met in Luke's garage, which is still where we rehearse. And the first jam we did was in D, and it was a funky little number, and it was, I don't know, from the get go we knew we had some sort of chemistry, or
I think that's
we could
really
feel it.
common. That's weird you should say that, because I mean, we had an identical thing happen with us many years ago. Our first jam was, we all came from this tiny town in the Riverina, so it's about 1,500 people, and Janet's parents had a rice farm, and her dad decided to take his big header, like a tractor, out of the shed, and we all just got in there and started jamming. We did like punk rock covers and stuff. We didn't have any songs. But you listen to that tape now, and it's just, there is a freshness about it, and it's that weird thing that happens in bands, just like with groups of friends or a great cast in a production, where there's something magical that happens that is very indefinable, and it often comes down to luck. But also it's very important that as a collective that you recognize that. If you all look around and go, this is good, and if you get along, you know how it's so important to be friends and get along. So
Definitely.
you could have Joe Blow, who's like the greatest drummer or guitar player in the world, but if he doesn't gel personally with the vibe, it's pointless having you in the band.
I think that's a theme that's like very present within like our band, is that our friendships is just like such a strong part of.
You can kind of tell that. I literally only met all you guys 5 minutes ago,
Yeah.
and everyone seems really chilled and happy in each other's company.
Yeah.
And from watching your performances, like a classic with that is the Takes from the Lakes video. Is that just a jam? You just decided to record it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just like pressed our first vinyl, and the A side is Moonrose Red, which is sort of like our finest work, I guess.
Yeah.
We did that at Studios 301 with Jack Garzonia.
Yeah.
And that was just like another amazing experience. But before that, we were doing live recordings, and we went and hired just like an Airbnb in Blackheath in the Blue Mountains.
And that's where the video is shot with all the
yeah,
glass.
yeah,
It looks
exactly.
really cool.
And that's where the whole B side of the record's taken from. So that was all live, often quite improvised.
Yeah.
And just like, just a snapshot of where we came from and the many strokes of luck that got us here. Because like, as you were saying, I think like when we started out, like there was just a love for each other and a love for the music. And like, when I listen back to that stuff, like it definitely sucked. Like we sucked, but we loved it.
Hey,
and that's
dude, it
what makes
wasn't
it so
that
good.
bad.
Yeah.
It was a milestone in
think
our
that's-
progression.
You're always
you
the
know.
greatest critics of your own work, though.
It's
You know,
true.
sometimes like I don't think it sucks. I think it's fucking sick. It sounds really
beautiful,
cool,
and
you know.
it's,
But
yeah,
it's I
it
know
is.
what you're talking about is, oh, we can do better than that. Like, you know,
course, yeah.
don't judge us on that. But there's something about, like when you watch old Super 8 footage of someone when they were younger or whatever, and they go, oh, it's so embarrassing. And but for you, it's like, no, this is amazing, because it's like a bit of a window into the formation of the personality. And just it's interesting with all the stuff I've looked at on YouTube, and just how watching you guys perform together, it just all seems quite relaxed, like almost like you could sort of take or leave the audience. You obviously want the audience to be there and dig in the music, but the five of you have this real quintet just sort of
Right.
hanging. And that's the good thing about that type of music, where it is very, there's no tracking, there's no production in terms of like extra stuff. Everything that's being heard is literally being generated by the fingers or the voice of the
For
people
sure.
involved.
Yeah, we're
Is
like,
that an ethos that you kind of...
yeah, we definitely don't
live
like
by?
we're not like indulgent on stage though. Like we don't just play to each other. We're like very aware of the audience, and we're very much putting on a performance and a show, and
Yeah.
creating an experience that is just like, I don't know, the best we can make it.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bit weird. I mean, not weird. It's that thing with which I talk about a lot, how your instrument is actually your friend. It's like you have a connection with that. There's a friendship there with the instrument, whether it's a guitar or drums or whatever it is. And then you feel comfortable with that. And through that comfort, you can push that into the collective space, and everyone feels comfortable. This type of music, like Bad Omens, reminded me a bit of some of JJ Cale's stuff. It sort of has that element.
That was a
and-
very conscious
and the
inspiration of
vocals,
ours, yeah.
the vocals I loved on that track. I'm not sure if that's you.
It's the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy's cool. I loved, your vocals are great as well. But it was really like, oh, this is really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I appreciate
It's
that.
going to happen sometimes.
No troubles.
Yeah. There's that song, Never Get You Down. I
Yeah,
looked
yeah.
at that. And is that synth on there? Is that like a
Yeah,
synth
yeah,
vibe?
so,
That
yeah.
doesn't seem to be, that seems to be a little bit different than some of your other
Yeah,
work.
I think like as I was saying before, with the strokes of luck, we had a great stroke of luck 6 months ago with Jammin joining the band.
Yeah.
Very like forward-thinking musical genius, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
He's studied classical at the con and just like is into a lot of like classical, obviously, and like post-rock art, like just really modern stuff.
Yeah.
He plays a Prophet 12, which is just like one of the most mind-blowing instruments I've ever heard.
Wow.
So like, yeah, that just added a whole other dimension to our sound, which has really like shot us off into a whole other trajectory.
Is that a kind of new sound for you guys, that using that? Like
Totally.
that song's fairly
Sure,
new
man.
in the
Yeah.
piece? And will you kind of go in that direction? Because it almost renders taking that JJ Cale sort of space in influence and almost making it even more epic. So it's almost like I can see the whole thing getting bigger, and
Yeah.
more epic.
Definitely.
But essentially, there's these five dudes in the middle that are all kind of just chilling on it, you know.
For sure.
It's
Cool.
weird. Like, how do you find when you play shows? Like, have you done festivals? Or do you mostly play smaller shows? What
Yeah, we've
what
got-
do you prefer to play? What do you like?
We've just got the opportunity to play like our first big festival, which is Lost Paradise over New Year's.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
Awesome.
So we're pretty psyched on that.
You're looking forward to that? Like, you're getting excited about that? That's your first
Pumped.
show like
It's
that?
our first big festival, yeah.
Yeah.
Who else is on that bill? Do you know other bands that you'd like to see?
Lime Cordial.
Like Fritz, the boys, like, oh, it's hard to think. Crocodilus.
Yeah.
That's a
heaps
great
of
lineup.
Sick bands. There's lots of good bands as well as like DJs and stuff.
And that's
yeah.
Sydney. It's on the outside of Sydney, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've never
Nice.
been to that festival, played at it, but I've heard it's really nuts. So what's your plan for like, it's your first big festival show. Are you going to do a special, like, you got any amazing shit lined up for that? Or is it just like, no, we're just going to go and do our
We
thing?
got some stuff in the pipe that we haven't played at live shows. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
we could be and that sort of elaborating on what we were just talking about earlier with Jam enjoying the band and the soundscape broadening and us sort of going down a new trajectory of sound. There's a lot in the pipe that we're just hanging out to play and show people. So could be a good opportunity to play something new.
It's weird how the biggest stage, we really noticed this once we did one of the early big day outs, and all we'd ever done was sort of pub shows, and we were, everyone's talking about our band and stuff, and then we went on and played this huge show at the Sydney Big Day Out to like to 30,000 people.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a transformative experience for us. Like we literally, I keep saying, as I've discussed many times to different people, walk on stage one band and you come off stage a different band.
Yeah.
And it's not just the massive audience, and that we had this one moment where they sang this song of ours called Old Man Sam, which is such an old song of ours. And we just couldn't believe that people knew the words to this song. And back then there wasn't, there was no social media. There was no, the connection with people wasn't as immediate. So it was more word of mouth. And just the feeling when people know your song and you just sort of, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But also the sound of the stage, because everything's so much bigger and more massive. And I'm interested to see, I guess you guys are as well, what it will be like to play at in such a big place like that with that, and what it'll do to your actual sound.
I think
in reference to what I was saying before, like, like being the type of band that can sound just as good in a small place as in a big venue. And not every band is like that. Sometimes they need that bigger space. Other bands kind of sometimes need the smaller space. What are you expecting in that regard? Like,
I'd just like to quickly say, like, I can totally agree with you on that, like, catalytic experience of playing particular shows when you come out and you're just like, you feel something click within everyone. There's been a couple shows where that, I can
you've
definitely
had some
resonate
shows like
with
that, yeah.
feeling.
Can you describe one of those shows?
The first big one that like blew my mind was supporting
Taster, man, it was pretty fat.
Yeah, and even earlier, like before Jam and Join, we played at the Enmore, and that's just like such an iconic venue.
All puppies there, man.
So yeah.
So who did you play with? Give me an
Ocean Alley and a New Zealand band called Tones of I.
Tunes of I.
Tunes of I, yeah.
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 And what was that like?
The
What was
guys.
Just crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like such a big room, beautiful sound, and just such a massive milestone to think that like Toby and I were just playing acoustic blues on the beach not that long ago.
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's just a beautiful experience.
It's a weird, I always use the word euphoric with regards to those moments, and how it also tells you how important those venues are in terms of they're like the churches for us and our religion of music. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and you could be playing at, Sydney Convention Centre, it wouldn't be quite the same. There's something about playing in those old theatres. I think outdoor festivals, having played, so many. I remember we did Splendour maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and we hadn't played that festival for a while. And even in an outdoor setting, it's almost like festivals are, at their best, the embodiment of that type of Mecca, of that type of like church of the common musical mind.
Yeah.
So it's weird. That's kind of really informative that you mentioned that show, because I'm sure it was just as much a part as being on that big bill and playing to all those people, but just as much a part of it was you actually playing on that big bill with those people at the Enmore Theatre.
Of course, yeah. And I still haven't come down from that.
No, it's great to play there. Like we did a show there this year, and it was the same. I know the Palais is similar here, and we played a show at the Forum on Saturday.
Great.
It's just so important those gigs survive for everyone, not just to play at, but to go to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the context of like they're always the same, but the band's completely changed. So next week it might be like, Client Liaison playing at them. Totally different energy, but they're probably, if you guys and them got together, you'd probably say, oh yeah, we felt exactly the same way, even though our music is sort of different.
Same church service.
Yeah, the experience is that we worship the same God.
Same praise.
She is awesome, yeah. So what are your plans for the future? What's happening for you right now? I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing you play tonight. So thanks so much for coming to this awesome Pedestrian Tune-In show. But after tonight, what have you got lined up?
We're pretty busy over the next coming months. We're doing a little East Coast tour. We actually released a single today called Can't Sleep.
Okay.
It's on Spotify.
Are you coming to Byron?
We're going to play in Byron, yeah.
Whereabouts is your show there?
We're headlining the Northern on the 21st.
Oh, sick.
December.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good one.
Make it down,
place.
bring whoever.
Well, I actually live up there now, and it's great when bands come through. I definitely come to see you and have a couple of beers.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
look, thanks so much for coming in. I really wish you all the best. I really like your band. You guys sound cool. And it's just, I really loved how during this whole thing, just discovering new acts all the time. And you guys are another great example of that. So all the best.
Thank you very much.
Sorry all of you couldn't fit in to this because I'd love to speak to all 5 of you.
The band's too big. I've
Yeah,
always
yeah,
thought
they
that.
get to listen, but they don't get to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah,
So
yeah.
they're all laughing and they're half going, shit. One thing is like, shit, I wish I could be in there. And the other one's going, I'm so glad I'm not in there. So good. So just to finish off, we just have this one question in 2 parts that I'm asking everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it's like, where are you now? Like, who are you? What's going on now? Who are you right now? And who do you hope to be in the future? You both can answer each.
Yeah.
And it's sort of personally and collectively, so.
I don't know. There's a stranger up ahead. Like, I don't know who that person is, just like I don't really know who I was 10 years ago.
Well, what about in terms of the band itself? Like, if you want to answer collectively, like
yeah.
Eagle Eye Jones, where do you feel like you're at now, and where do you hope to be or think you might be in the future?
I feel like, we're in a really experimental journey at the moment. I think we've found a niche of sound, but it's a continual, perpetual journey of sort of discovering how far we can push our sound individually and collectively. Also, as a band and individuals, I think like just being a part of like a conscious generation of youth culture who are active in the society and like helping shape something that's going to be better for generations to come.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And that's a pretty common theme amongst a lot of people. So, and that's your kind of vision and hope for the future. If that is, that's a beautiful thing to say, man. And well done. Your answer.
And also just like our sound world's getting way more, like you said, experimental. Like blues is such a small part of our mindset at the moment, and we're all very consumed with writing our album at the moment, which we're like well underway with, and will be our pride and joy when we record it next year.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like themes like that in there. Yeah, very driven by all the stuff that's happening today.
Well, thank you so much both for coming in. Once again, sorry all of you couldn't fit. This is a very small studio. Good luck for tonight's show. I can't wait to see you. And I just want to wish you all the best of luck and love and prosperity and awesome music in a collective and individual spiritual realm for the future. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much,
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys.
Great to meet you, man. Cheers.
And I don't know you. In the sky or in the dirt. Lord, I found a place, yes, between the atoms and the space.
If you want to hear more podcasts like The Tune In, visit the Pedestrian Podcast Network and subscribe to our channels on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and all other places where good podcasts are heard.